Hey everybody, they want to know for number 2, what is the volume in cubic feet of the right rectangular prism shown by the net? Show your work. Now remember, for volume, there's two different formulas that we've been talking about in class. One is this one right here, volume equals length times width times height. The other one is volume equals, and we use a capital B to represent the area of the base times the height. So since we're just given the dimensions here, we're going to use this blue formula. Now, the challenge that we're faced with is they give you a bunch of stuff here, and you have to figure out which number would be the length, which number would be the width, and which would be the height, because they duplicate some of the numbers, and you have to, think about it a little bit and picture the thing folded up. So let's just try to figure out, let's pick what we think is the longest number to be the length, and that would be represented right here. So let's call that the length. I'm going to put an L next to it so we keep track on our net. All right, now for the width, why don't we call this number the width right here? So that would be 1/3 of a foot, right? Because they're showing you a little arrow saying that that line is 1/3 of a foot. All right, now the challenge is that people get confused about, well, what would the height be? So if we kind of picture this thing folded up, do you see how we have, what appears to be a square? So if I was to attempt to draw this as a polyhedron, or as a rectangular prism, which is a polyhedron, let me attempt to draw it. So we would have like a square, and then we would have another square, and then we would be, actually probably what I should do to make it a little more precise, how about let's clone this so it's absolutely identical, because that's what we're looking at here. We have the two square bases on this thing, and then we have, this line, we have this, or I should say edge when we talk about it in the context of a prism. We have this line and we have this line. So if we kind of interpret these numbers on our three-dimensional drawing of the thing, we know that this line right here is 3/4 of an inch. And we know that this line right here, because they're telling us, is 1/3. And that's also true over here as well. And because this apparently is a square, then that means this number is 1/3. So what does that really mean as far as what are we going to put in the formula? Well, if we have a square base on that thing, then that means the height is also going to be 1/3. All right, so the only thing left you have to do is you have to find what 3 times 1 times 1 is, and that'll be your numerator. Actually, what you could do, even before we do that, how about we simplify? We can simplify. If we divide by 3 and get 1, divide by 3 and get 1, then that's going to make it even easier. So how about we go back and do 1 times 1 times 1, make that your numerator, and 4 times 1 times 3, make that your denominator, and then you'll be all done with this question.